I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey, you guys, welcome to the show tonight. I'm your host, Dano, as always. You guys, tonight I got a really great guest on. I've got Lynn Gaspaire on with me tonight. But before we bring him on, again, I want to say thank you so much for the support of the show, support of the channel. Thanks for all the subs. You guys, I got a giveaway going on. It's going to end June 10th. And if you become a member of the channel for just $2.99 a month, you guys will get your name entered in for a drawing of this hat. Again, it's $2.99. You have to be a member by June 10th. After June 10th, you will not be eligible. I will be drawing a name and announcing the winner. And then all you got to do is send me your address, and I'll get that in the mail to you. If you guys have had an encounter and you'd like to come on the show, please email me at the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. Again, the Cryptid Podcast 72 at gmail.com. Now, my guest, Lynn, this is cool. We're from the same hometown. We're both from Tacoma, Washington. We right off camera, we were talking. He was naming places. I know exactly where those places were. We went to rival high schools, but that's okay. Now, he's a little older than I am. He graduated in, I think, 71, he said. I was born in 72. So, I mean, he's got a little age on me, but it's cool to talk to someone because I'm naming places. He knows where they're at. He's naming places. I know where they're at. So this is, to me, is going to be a great interview. So without further ado, let's bring our guest on, Lynn. Lynn, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing just fine, and thank you for the invite on the show.
Mhm.
And kind of a shout out to your supporters that were on Josh's show. That I answered their questions too.
Yeah.
And so we're going to get started. This is all about understanding Bigfoot, um, and their behavior, their life, and the quest that's been in my life to find out why I've had these multiple exciting sightings with Bigfoot. Now, this one happened Memorial Day 2016 at the place called the Roy Y. And Daniel knows exactly where it is. My wife and I were going fishing. And we'd left our house about 4:30, and we get out to the Roy Y. You take that right on the mountain highway 705 south, and we go maybe a quarter of a mile, and the military base is on the left side, and on the right side there's a spot where it's grassy, a little bit of hill, and the fence has a military base sign on it. And as we coming up to make the turn, here is this black form sitting on the left side of the road. The state had been out and had picked up garbage over the weekend and had the bags sitting on the side of the road. And right there, we're coming up and in the lights, we're watching, and we're sitting there. Well, who sits out in a black hair coat on the side of the road? And we're looking at this, and as we get closer, the road's only about 22 feet wide there, and we're in the right lane. And we're looking at this thing in the left, and it rocks up, and we can see it from the left side, from the side of its head all the way down to where it's squatting on its feet. And we're looking at that. That's not, it dawns on us, it's a juvenile Bigfoot. The little juvenile Bigfoot is sitting there. It's got a green garbage bag on its lap, and it's pulling the garbage out of the bag, and it's looking for food. And it reaches in and it picks up something and it pulls it out, and it's doing this. Something done, it throws on the ground. And as we're coming, like I said, we're coming going south from its left side, and we can see its head. We can see its ear. Their ears like our ear, only a little bigger, and got fine hair. And I can see the side of its face, get the reddish, amber reddish reflection from the eye as we're coming in closer, and it kind of looks towards us a little bit. It's got a flat nose and hair all over it, and it pulls itself up together, hunches, and like turns its back, like, you don't see me. And as we're driving along, we're just watching it, what it looks like from side to its back. And it has a very, very short neck. The young juveniles and toddlers, they do have a bit of visible neck, and you can see it. And as we're watching, this lady comes by in a car going north, and she's got to see it. It's sitting right on the edge of the road, and we're looking in her car, and she looks down at it, and she just puts her eyes straight ahead, and she just drives by. Like, I don't see that sitting there. I don't see that sitting there. So as we come by, it takes its arm and it picks up a item out of the bag out the side like this, drops it, comes back, picks. And it's doing that, and it's something fine. It would eat it. So that ain't no bear. That's no lost monkey or chimp. And as we're watching it go by, I never thought to stop. I have my camera sitting right in my ashtray. And my wife looks up on the bank, and up there on the bank, there stands Mama. She's on the other side of the fence, and she's got her garbage bag too. She's standing up there, and she's going to the garbage. So they are definitely um, dumpster raiders, free food, and that's obviously a habituated Bigfoot. So we drove on down the road, and I made a report to the BFRO on that, and I got a call from them. They had a lady that was driving that same road only that night, and then she's going south. Right alongside the road, there stands the mother Bigfoot, and she gets up alongside and flips the lights out, and the mother Bigfoot takes off running, going south. And there's a military fence about 10 feet off the road. The speed limit's about 45 miles an hour. The mama Bigfoot takes off on a sprint, and from the shoulder of Highway 507 or 2 south, she hurdles that fence and takes off. And so that was because that's a definite area that Mr. Daniel here knows. Okay, now the one, now some of the viewers of the other show asked about this one. This is the first time I seen a Bigfoot, and this was in 1959 at Ocean Shores, Washington. Our family was down there digging clams, and we got back to the motel about 10 o'clock. And being the littlest person there that wasn't dead to sleep, I had to go out back. Now, I love berries, and behind the motel where we were staying was a big patch of blackberries about 20 feet long and about 7 foot high, and it was just loaded with blackberries. So I like blackberries. I go over and I start picking the blackberries. I had found three 1 gallon buckets sitting over by the tool shed, so I brought them over, set them down, and I'm picking the berries and I'm putting them in the buckets. And so while I'm doing this, I hear like the bush being pulled on from above, and then I hear a sound like something slurping something. And I look up at towards the top of the berries. And there's nothing there. So I go back to picking the berries, and a minute or two later, there's another tug on the berry vines, and you could hear that tug and see the bushes flit. So I lean out to the side. I'm looking. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. So as things proceed, I walk over to the shed and I pick up the old-fashioned wooden step ladder, and I bring it over, and I set it up to the against the blackberry bushes, and I start picking more blackberries and filling the buckets, and I pick a bucket up as I go, and as I'm picking the blackberries, a right hand comes up, grabs a vine and clusters of berry, and pulls it over the backside, and I just stop and I look at that, a black hand. This hand is black. It's got four fingers, an opposing thumb. It's got human-like uh, fingernails, fine black hair all over the hand, down to the nails, and the skin is black. And I look at this, and I no idea what it is. So I keep picking the blackberries and working up the ladder as I pick, and the hand comes up again over the top, almost in front of me. And I take my left hand, I reach out and I put it down and touch the hand. And that hand just pulls back. And I looking at that, like it pulled back. We didn't want to, whatever it was, didn't want to be touched. And I go back to picking berries, and the hand comes up again in the same spot. And I reach down again with my left hand and I touch it. This time it doesn't pull back, it stays there for a bit. And then I reach up and pick some blackberries, and I'm picking them in, holding them with my left hand, picking with my right, putting them in the bucket, and the hand disappears. And I reach up to get a cluster of berries that's above my head. And I reach up comes this right arm from its, like I said, four fingers and opposing thumb. It's all covered in black hair. It's a muscular arm. And it comes up and takes the cluster of berries that I had reached in the vine, and it puts two fingers across mine, and it pulls the berries down almost in front of me. And I just looking at this, and so I just take my share of the berries off, and the hand pulls the side over again, and I hear the sound. And that's odd. So I go back to picking the berries, and I reach up on the right side. Up comes this muscular left arm, same description, four fingers, opposing thumb, all covered in hair, and it gets a hold of the branch next to mine, and it pulls it down in front of me, and I pull some berries off, and then it pulls it over to the side. And this keeps going on. And I keep working up and picking berries, and the hand would come up on either the left or right side, and it would touch my hand, or I'd reach over and touch the hand. I have no idea what it is. So we keep doing this, and I get a little bit higher, and I'm just about to the third rung up, and I got the bucket, last bucket put on top of the step ladder, and I just happen to look down to the right, and there standing there is this creature. It's all black. It has brown eyes, black pupils. It's got whites of its eyes. The skin on its face around its eyes, kind of like an hourglass formation, is a very dark tan black. It's got short black hair, a very short uh, forehead. It's got a flat Nubian nose. It's got a wider mouth, about inch long face hair all over. And I'm just looking at it, and it looks up at me, and I first think, being a 6-year-old, that it's an Afro American kid. And so I just look at the face and I say, "Are you picking blackberries too? The sweetest and the biggest ones are up top." And it just kind of clenches its head, and I reach up to get a high cluster of blackberries. Up comes the right arm and brings it down and stops right in front of us. I pick some, let go of it, pulls it over. And as I'm watching, it takes the cluster of blackberries and then lets go. And I go, aha, the slurping sound. So this is getting more interesting for me. I try that. I proceed to scratch my face, my left cheek, and that's not for me. That's too painful to keep picking blackberries like this. And so we're back to picking blackberries, and up with the other hand, and we do this again. And finally, I look at it, and I said again, "Are you picking blackberries too? The biggest and the sweetest ones are up high." And it doesn't answer. It just kind of shakes its head. And I just, for some reason, reached over and touched my right ear and said, "Can you hear me?" I'm talking to it. And when I touched my ear and said, "Can you hear me?" it raises up with its left hand and taps its left ear. Now I'm amazed, and I'm looking at, is this creature mimicking me, or is it telling me that it can hear me? And so I ask it again, can you hear me? And I touch my right ear. It touches its left ear. So I say, okay, it can hear me. And I just started, because I'm 6, I just start feeling really sad. And I look at it and I say, in a soft, friendly voice, like a 6-year-old would talk, how sad. You can hear, but you can't talk. Would you would you like to have a friend? And it does the most amazing thing. It didn't do the ear tap. It reached up with its left hand and it took a cluster of blackberries, like you hand something overhand, hands it to me. And as I take it with my right hand from its left hand, its right hand comes up over to the top of the berries to where I'm on the ladder, palm up on the berry. So I pick the berries with my right hand, hold it with the left. I let go of it with my left hand, and I put my left hand right down in its hand, and it's holding my hand. My hand's small. Its hand was about 5 inches wide, 9 inches long, because this was a juvenile. And instantly, I felt like we became friends. And later, through study, I learned that berries are a significant part of a Bigfoot's survival and food source. And it's the ultimate gift of friendship that a Bigfoot will give you. It gives you the blackberries, and I gave it some back. So we go back to picking blackberries, and I'm filling up the last of the bucket, and we do this reach up, touch each other. I look down, it looks up at me. We're just picking berries. It's my blackberry picking friend. About this side time, from my left side, in the occupant of the motel, he had a black lab. And this black lab comes charging out and it snarling and barking. And I turn to the left to look at it. The ladder kicks out for me and I go thump right on the ground on my bottom. And I'm looking towards the end of and the Bigfoot and the dog are growling at each other. And the Bigfoot would shake the bushes at the dog. Well, as I'm watching, the Bigfoot comes out from the backside of the wood, the berry patch, going to go to the wood. There's a path that goes down to the woods, and he's black, hair from the top of his head to his feet, and it's about 6 foot, maybe 6'6", and it reaches up in stride, palm up, right hand, grabs this branch, dead branch on the Douglas fir tree, snaps it off, hits the ground and breaks the other end out, and it turns from the waist and looks at the dog, and it's got that club up here. It's gonna whoop that dog. And I'm looking at this, and the dog is growling, and the Bigfoot's is holding that club. And for people who say, "Well, Miss Avidation's a bear," and you tell me a bear that runs and walks on 2 feet can reach up, palm up, like I said, 4 fingers in the opposing thumb, grab a branch, break it off on the ground, and turn and get ready to whip a dog. That's no bear. So I'm on the ground and I can see it, and it goes down the trail because there's people coming out screaming and hollering what's going on. And the owner of the dog comes out, gets a hold of the dog, and my mom and grandma come out and they go, "What's going on?" And the man says, "There was a bear at the blackberry patch, and the dog went after the bear." Well, like I said, well, how many bears that run upright and can break a stick off? Well, it goes down the trail and then there's a little dip and it gets behind the dip and behind a stump and it's just sitting there and it's looking over at me and I'm looking at it and I get escorted off into the motel room and they're asking me and there's somebody comes in that's got a green uniform on. I don't know if he's a game warden or somebody from with the motel, and they start asking me what you seen, and I'm describing it. They said, did it have a muzzle? And I go, no, it had a face. And one of them, uncles or the other person, asked my grandfather, does the boy know what a bear is? And my grandfather goes, yes, he knows what a bear is. And they asked me, um, where were its ears? And I go, it's got ears with hair. And it touched my grandfather's ear right here. And they asked me again. I said, it had no neck. It was all covered in hair. And it had a chin, and I touched my grandfather's chin. And somebody in the of the adults says, he's describing a Sasquatch. And hey, I'm a kid. I'll take their. So my uncles went out and they got and brought in my 2 buckets of berries. And I said, well, I had a third one. And when I fell, it landed on its side between the legs of the stepladder next to the blackberries. So they go out, and this time they walk around behind the patch of blackberries, and about halfway up it, to even where I was at, there on the ground is 13 to 14-inch long, quadruple E wide, flat footprints with a little ridge across it, and they follow the tracks right down to where it went off the path behind the stump, and the stick was laying on the path where it went off, and they track the tracks. It comes back, so they follow the tracks back across the grass, right back to where I had fallen off the ladder. And they said, "There's the bucket of berries. It's picked up, and the berries have been put back in it. The ladder had been put together and laid down on its side next to the berry patch." And one thought there is, okay, who picks blackberries barefoot? But Sasquatch does. And that was my first encounter with a Sasquatch. And I believe from that day on, and this is a sincere belief I have, that it is the explanation to why, through my childhood, teenage years, and into my adult life, I keep having these reoccurring encounters with Bigfoot. And I believe he came back because what would a friend do but come back to check on your friend? And that memory has stayed with me from that day. And that was in the show the other day. And the next, we're going to advance ahead till 1979. And some of the questions from the other show, Josh's show, they asked me about the Bigfoot family that I'd encountered. Well, 4 of us decided to go up to Lake Cushman camping. Um, and we got up there late in the afternoon, and we got our camp put up and making the campfire and gathering wood and getting something to eat. And it was getting on towards dark. And just after dark, from up on the hillside, right side of the lake, we hear this real high pitched scream like a female woman screaming hysterically. And it's followed up real quickly by another high pitched scream like a child screaming. And then there's a baritone scream back. And they're screaming back and forth, and you can hear it come down the mountains. And everybody's just like freezes. What's going on? What's this screaming? Some people are kicking a couple extra logs on the fire. And we're starting to discuss about what's doing this. And I've been out in the woods and I know what a coyote sounds like. And they said, well, maybe it's a coyote. And I said, no, not even a bitch coyote in heat screams like that. And somebody said, well, maybe it's a mountain lion screaming. Well, mountain lion, when they scream, it kind of has that wah sound in it. I go, no, that's not a mountain lion. And some people thought, well, maybe it's a bobcat, because bobcats make a lot of noises. And I go, no, it's not a bobcat. And the screaming starts all over again. Like I said, like a woman in hysterics, followed by a child, and they're screaming back and forth with this baritone voice. And this goes on for about 20 minutes. And then it dies away, and we're all sitting around talking and trying to figure out what it is. And I said, I'm a pretty good tracker. I'm going to get up in the morning and I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk up that side of the road, up that hill. Maybe I can find some tracks, see what it is. So we all head to bed, and about the crack of daylight, I'm up. I get dressed. I pull on my khaki shorts and a brown sweatshirt and my baseball cap. And I eat a bowl of cereal and I start walking out of the campground. Now, to go out of this campground, you walked across a little wooden bridge, and to the left of it, like an old skid down there, there was also an iron gate bar across that. So I walk up to the main road and I turn left and I start walking uphill. Now, this would be on the right side of Lake Cushman. As I'm walking up the road, I'm staying kind of on the grass, not making a lot of noise. I'm walking real quiet. It's early in the morning, maybe 5:25, something like that. As I'm walking up the hill, I hear samurai chatter. It sounds like samurai chatter down in the gulch. There's a creek down in there. It's a 10% grade. It's full of huckleberries and ferns and trees, and you can't really see in there, but I hear this chatter. And it sounds like a couple people or something talking back and forth. To me, it sounds Korean, but it's samurai chatter, or some people call it squirrel chatter. So I'm listening to it and I keep walking, paralleling. I'm staying even with where the sounds come, but I got the high ground on whatever it is down there. So I keep walking and I hear branches breaking, and it go quiet a little bit. Then I hear more branches breaking, and they're whatever it is moving, and I hear more of the chatter. So I'm walking, continuing to walk up left side of the road, and I'm trying to look down into that gulch to see if I can see anything. And I go a ways and I could hear it, and I go, I reach up and I grab a branch and I snap it off and just drop it. Everything goes quiet, and I go, well, if it's a person generally, they break a branch or step on it, takes that next step. An animal won't. And so I listen, and I hear the chatter, and I hear them moving, and I hear a stick break, and it stops. It goes quiet. And I go, oh, there's something down there, at least two, whatever it is. So I stand still, it stands still, then it starts to move. So I start walking with it. And I get to a place where I can look down. And as I'm looking down towards the bottom of the gulch, it's, like I say, it's thick in there with huckleberries and saplings and other brush and ferns. Right into the path, the open spot that I'm looking down, crosses in front of me two bodies. The first one is big. It's got blonde, brown colored hair, um, like a bouffant hairstyle. It's big head, big wide shoulders. I can see it as it's walking down the hill. There's another one walking on its left side, same color phrase, but smaller, and then down into thick brush. And I'm look at my watch, and I know I was the only person out of that camp this early in the morning, and I'm thinking, okay, what would two girls be doing out here bushwhacking down into stuff like that? I don't think so. And I look at that color, and that color is the same bleach blonde color of an Alaskan grizzly. And I say to myself, I know there is no grizzlies in Washington State at this time. So I keep walking up the hill, and I keep listening to them. I'd move when they'd move. I'd stop when they'd stop, and I'd kept the high ground on them. And they're paralleling the hill. That's an important thing to learn when they're on a Bigfoot. When they walk, they'll parallel you. And you're very, very lucky if you can get the high ground on them. So I get just about to the top, and I stop. I'm listening for them, and I look in front of me, in the shadow of the sun getting light as the mountain comes across the lake, and I can see the shadow, and I step up next to this big Douglas fir tree on the left side of the road, and about 75 yards in front of me, the shadow moves. I stand still, and I keep watching the shadow, and all of a sudden, it steps off from the shadow of the shoulder onto the road, and it's black. It's 9 foot tall at least, and I saying to myself, I've seen that before. And it turns from the waist, looks to the right, turns from the waist, looks down the hill, and steps across that road in 2 steps, and it starts up a 10% grade with got brush going up into the tall and uncut. And this is good 9 foot tall. It's 5 foot across the shoulders. It slims down. It's 3, 4 foot across the backside. And as it moves, you can see the tendons move. You can see the muscles move. And it goes up into the tall and uncut. And I go, well, I've seen that before, but I want to know what this is over here. So it levels off. And off to my left, there is a patch of clear ground. The hill slopes down up against a old growth thicket of huckleberries and ferns, and to the left side there's more ferns and brush, and to the right side it falls away down the hill. And so I step off the road, and I sit down on these stump, and I'm covered up by about 4 or 5 huckleberry bushes right up to about the brim of my hat. And I'm looking, and I looked to my left along the edge of the brush, and there at the edge, about 15 feet away, is a hourglass, tan colored hourglass with 2 brown eyes looking out of the brush. I just sit still, and I'm looking at this. It's not a deer. The eyes are in front, not on the side. And it's that bleached blonde colors. As I'm watching, it turns to the right. I pick up the side of its head, part of its shoulder, and it goes over the bank of the burial brow of the hill, and I don't see it anymore. And I go, what was that? Just keep sitting still. And I pick a couple of huckleberries and eat them. And I'm watching, and I catch a motion out of the side of my eye, and about 10, 12 feet away, there's a bigger, same hourglass features, same tan color. I can see a big flat nose. I can see the eyes, and I can make out the form in the brush, the outline of a big animal on all four. And it's big. And I just sit still and watch. I'm calm. I'm curious. I want to know what that is. And an arm comes out, and it grabs a couple twigs of huckleberries, and it breaks it off and pulls it back. Now, this arm is about 5 foot long. It's got 4 fingers, an opposing thumb, human like fingernails. The skin on the bottom of the hand looks like a fine leather driving glove. And I'm okay. I see an arm, I see an outline of a body. So I sit still, just stay calm, and just keep watching. And pretty soon, this big animal comes out on all fours, turns a little bit to its left, and sits down on the ground. I am 8 to 10 feet right behind its right shoulder, and I'm looking at it. It's that bleached blonde color. has like a bouffant hairstyle coming back. It's got a wide neck at the where it reaches the shoulders, about 24 inches. The head's about 20, 22 inches high. There's no sagittal crest. And I'm looking at it down its back. It's got wide shoulders, over 4 foot. And I can see through the brush that it's side cheek sitting. It's sitting on its right side hip with its legs off to the left. So I just keep watching. And I'm calm, I'm quiet, it's peaceful, and I just watch. I'm learning. And pretty soon it turns a little bit to the right and it straightens out. When it straightens out, I can see its thighs in the brush, its knee, its legs, and I can see its feet. And it's sitting a little bit of a right profile to me, and I can see its ear. Its ears is about the size of a coffee saucer, or about 7.5 inches, covered with fine blonde hair. The skin is a tan color, and it's got long hair. I can see its shoulder, it's breathing, and I'm looking down its profile. And so, how to say this? Well, she would put Dolly Parton to envy. It's a female. Whatever it is, it's a female, definitely. And so I'm watching it, and it's feeding on the huckleberries, and it would pick them up and strip them in its mouth. Her eyes were brown. She had black pupils. You could see the whites of her eyes. She had a flat nose, almond shaped nostrils, and she's eating the huckleberries. So I keep watching her. She has no idea I'm sitting right behind her. As I'm sitting and watching her, she straightens up and yawns. And that was not the thing to do, because when somebody yawns, you're going to yawn. Well, she's yawning and she opens her mouth. I'm looking right into her mouth from, like I said, 8 to 10 feet away. And she's got teeth exactly like ours, only they're bigger and thicker. There's no big canine like fang teeth. And she has a tongue like ours. And she yawns and stretches. And if we're looking at her teeth, oh, and I yawn and I go, oh no. I shouldn't yawn, because I remember the Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey documentaries on chimpanzees and gorillas, that when they show their teeth, it's a sign of aggression. And I don't want to show aggression to whatever this is. And I just hold still, and she flips her eyes over in my direction. I don't look at her. She looks away. I look over at her. She flips her eyes back. I look away. We do this about 6 times. And finally, I got to yawn again, so I don't want to yawn. So I cover up my mouth and I lean forward and I yawn and I sneak a lick to the left. She covers her face in her hands and she bends over at the waist and looks over at me. I am just shocked. She did exactly what I did. So I sit up and she sits up. She knows I'm there. She has to see me by now. She has to see me by now sitting there. She's just cool, calm, and looks at me, and she sits up all of a sudden real straight, and she bares her teeth and looks up and over behind me. And I just look down, and she does it again. And I look to my right side, and behind me, across the road, there's a green belt, some bushes, some grass, and there sitting behind me is this big black form. I should have paid attention and took another look at it, but nah, I'm going to pay attention to this. So I turn back, and I'm picking um, huckleberries. Jane Goodall in her documentary just said, act like a part of what's natural, do what's natural. So I'm picking huckleberries. And this female Bigfoot, she's watching me, and I'm picking them by my fingers, and she does the mouth strip again and drops the twig on the ground. And that's some pretty good evidence. If you're in a huckleberry patch and you start seeing twigs on the ground like a pile. They've got no leaves on them, no berries. That's a Bigfoot. And so I'm watching her and I decide, okay, there's another one with this. There was a juvenile with it. So I start searching around, looking around, and in the direction that I saw it go, I'm looking for the other one. And straight across from me, just off the line of the mom, there's about 3, 4 huckleberry bushes. And in the huckleberry bushes, I see what looks like a black stump. And it kind of looks funny to me because the top of it looks rounded and maybe ears. Now, this time, the mother, she spits a mouthful of chewed huckleberries into her left hand and starts reaching towards that. My eyes are on that hand. I watch that hand go all the way out and over to that. And all of a sudden, that stump comes out of that crouch and reaches over with the two hands, scoops up the chewed berries and leaves, pops it into the mouth. And I go, she's feeding it. That's not the one I saw earlier. That's got to be a toddler. That's a toddler because it looks like a baby to me. And I watch her do this about 2, 3 times. She's feeding it. Hey, this is priceless. I'm excited. I actually seeing a female Bigfoot feed a baby. I'm still sitting there. She's not paying me any attention. I think maybe she thought because of my color of my clothes that I was just a juvenile Bigfoot sitting there. And so I'm watching her and I put my left arm on top of my knee by the bush. And all of a sudden, this little face comes up like a porcelain doll, and the right hand comes out and lays on top of the bush. And I go, what? So I pull my hand back. It pulls its hand back. And I'm smiling. And so I put my left hand back out there, puts its left hand back out there. And it's got this smile on its face. And I'm watching it and I go, okay, is it mimicking me or does it want to play? So I put my right hand out on the other side. Out comes its right hand. I'm having fun. It's having fun. And we're doing this. And I watch it. It sticks its right leg out from behind the bush. So I stick my left leg out. It pulls it back. I pull it out. It sticks its right leg out the other side. I put my right leg, left leg out. I put my right leg out the other side. We're going back and forth. And, mimicry, play. Mimicry is a way of learning. And so I keep watching it do this. And up and down, slow down behind the bush, come up and look and smile at the other. And every now and then, Mama would do the same thing. She'd bend over at the waist like we bend down. And so I go, okay, I'm going to see how this guy is. He's really watching and wanting to play. So I put my hands above my brim of my hat and I go down behind the bush. I wait a couple seconds and I come up and I look at my hands. This little guy comes up from behind the bush. He's got his hands over his eyes, just like and he's smiling at me. And we keep doing this. So finally, I take a breath and I'm going to say, well, I do it again. I go down behind the bush. I come back up. And as he comes up with my left hand, I point at it. In a soft voice, I say, I see you. Oh my God. Mama whirls around and she's grabbing dirt and throwing it and she backs up. And I go, oh my God, I just scared him. And then it dawned on me, my voice is probably the first human voice she's ever heard within 10 feet of her. And she backs up and the toddler, he drops behind the bush. He sighs, kind of like a whimper. And he puts out his right hand towards its mother. And I go, I've seen this before in the Jane Goodall documentaries and the Dian Fossey's. Primates do that, chimps, because they reach out for reassurance. And as I'm looking at this, I take a brief breath. I let it out. I'm calm. I reach my hand out towards her, palm up, I don't look at her. I'm looking more past her, more towards the toddler, just to see what she'll do. And she, after taking the toddler's hand and making a soft vocalization, she turns to the right and she does a double take. She sees what I'm doing. And so I'm sitting there, I'm going to hold still. She starts coming towards me on all fours. And I start rethinking this. Well, is this a good idea to reach out and let her, to give her reassurance, to let her touch my hand? Because she could grab me and throw me in the lake. I go, no, but I just hold still. And she comes over and she takes my left hand in her right hand. My hand is 5 inches wide. The width of my palm fits between the knuckle of her left thumb and the first knuckle of her pointer finger. And her fingers wrap all the way around and touch the under part of my wrist. And I go, okay. And she does a little sniff. It's no hard grab, just a soft, like you'd hold somebody's hand. So I take my hand out and I put it on the ground, on my lap. I'm sitting on the ground on the stump. And I don't look at her. And by my left foot, there's a 3 inch, round about 4 or 5 inch high stump. And she reaches out with her right hand and she goes tap, tap, tap on that stump. And I say to myself, oh my God, she wants my attention. So I turn to my left, I reach down and I go tap, tap, tap on the same stump. And then I look up and she squares right up in front of me. Our faces are not 12 to 18 inches apart. I'm looking her right in the eye, and she's looking me right in the eye. She has this very calm look on her face, kind of like, how'd you know to do that? I just look at her and I say very softly, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you and the baby. And she's looking at me and she does the most incredible thing. She sits right back down on the ground. And I am excited. I am like, I'm seeing this. I'm actually seeing a mother Bigfoot sit down within touching distance of me. And she looks at me, and I look at her, and she starts to feed again. I look over at the toddler, and stands up, and he gets handfuls of huckleberry. He shakes it at me and goes, "Vrr." I reach down and grab two handfuls of huckleberries like him, and I look at him and go, "Vrr," right back. And this is priceless. Mama looks over at him. She looks over at me. She looks back at the toddler and looks back at me. We're starting to play the game again. And she does a very human like thing and kind of rolls her eyes and looks at us. And the expression I'd say on her face is like, will you two kids ever grow up? And I look at her, being a typical smart ass 19-year-old, and I look her right in the face and I go, you obnoxious big sister. And so we start playing again. Right hand out, left leg, back and forth, up and down, peekaboo. I'm having fun, and I know he's having fun. Every now and then, Mama would do this. So after a while of playing with it, I get kind of tired, and I rest my left arm on my knee, and my chin's in my hand, and I look over, and that's Mama. She's got the right arm up, chin in her hand, and Junior's doing it. I said, this is mimicry, play, but mimicry is a kind of learning, education. So I watched there and I'm trying to think of something to do that he could do. I part of me wanted to see if I could go forward towards him, but I just said, no, sit still. And because like I said, the mom was all the time between me and that baby. And so she kind of gets tired, and I'm getting tired thinking, well, maybe I should get going. And she squares up to me and she reaches down and she taps the ground twice. she wants my attention. So I reach down and I tap the ground twice and I face her and she turns around and see her complete backside and she's going away from me and she reaches out with her right arm and she scoops up the toddler and goes down the bank. And down the bank in front of me is a big fir tree straight in front of her. And to the right is the big thicket of huckleberries and ferns and trees. And so I'm thinking she's going to put that tree between me and her, and she's going to cut either left, right, or go straight down over the hill. As I'm watching her come up to the tree, she stands up, and she's got to be 7'6" or bigger. And just as she reaches the tree from the left side, here comes side profile, the other blonde-headed juvenile that I saw earlier this morning. It's the same one. And they go over behind and they cross behind the tree and go behind the bushes. I go, aha, I'm going to scoot to the right because there's a trail over there that parallels the patch and comes up across the road. So like all fours, and I scoot across there and I just come up to a stop, kind of like in a kneeling position, and my hand gets hit with a fir cone and I looking up and there's stuff falling down on a tree and I think, well, maybe I bumped into something and knocked something loose. About this time I heard this, it's like a bark. Whoa! And crack, boom, goes a dead fir snag down. And I look back to my right side, turn and look, 9 foot tall, growing straight up that 10% grade. It was the big male that I saw earlier. He had gone up into the tall and uncut, circled around, and came back and had sat down right behind me, and he was there all the time. So I turned back and I looked real quick to the left, 10 feet away from me, 5 foot tall, the blonde color phase. Her mouth is kind of open. I could see this line of her teeth. And she's got black skin, black on her face. And she has this look on her face like a bashful 10-year-old would go. And when the minute we make eye contact, she whirls around and she takes off on a dead sprint down the hill. So I go, oh, you're not supposed to make her scare her. It wasn't me that scared her. So about this time, this blonde brown streak comes flying off the corner, running at a 45-degree angle down the hill, and that's Mama. Now, she's taking 12 to 14-foot strides. That head is not moving at all. It's fluid, a fluid motion. And this run looks different. And there's a patch of Douglas tree saplings and brush, and she hits that like a bulldozer. Stuff's flying. She goes through that like we walk through tall grass. And as she comes out of that, she's stepping over, hurdling logs, rocks, and brush that we'd have to climb over or go around. And she runs down about 50 to 65 yards below me. And she turns and faces uphill and she stops. And I can see that she's breathing. I can see her breath come out. And she's doing something else, but I won't say what she's doing. And I'm looking for the toddler. Where's the toddler? And I go, oh my God, did he get abandoned? Did he lost somewhere? And at this time, the juvenile female comes up around and disappears behind its mom. And I keep looking for the toddler. And the mom is looking up the hill at me. I'm looking down at her, and she makes a vocalization. I can't really hear it, but I feel like a vibration on the front of me, infrasound. So I keep looking. I look left, I look right. I don't see that toddler. And she looks into my direction. She makes that vocalization again. She drops her eyes a little bit. So I just look down about 2 feet out and 10 feet down. There's a clump of huckleberry bushes, and sticking out the backside to my left, There's a little bottom, two crossed feet, and behind the bushes, in like a fetal position, with its face in its hands, there's the toddler. And I'm looking at it, and I kneel down, and I look at it, and I say, I see you. He pops up, and the brush is about 2 foot tall, and it comes up to his armpits, his chest. And he turns and looks at me, and he lets out a little sigh, and he looks to his left, my right. That's the way Daddy went. And I go, well, I didn't scare him. It was Daddy throwing down trees and yelling. And so I keep watching him, and he's looking. Now, toddler Bigfoot, they look different. Their head looks too big for the body. Um, he's got a visible neck, about an inch. His hair is really short, like a crew cut. It's black. He's got golf ball sized eyes. His eyes are brown. His pupils are black. He's got seriously his eyes, and he's got a more visible forehead. His ears are tan, dark colored, and he's got fine black hair in it. As I'm looking at him, I can see his stomach and the undersides of his arms. You can see his skin, and the color of the skin on the bottom part of his arms and on his belly is like a pasty white to a deer, natural tan deer skin, which is kind of a gray color. And he's just there looking, and I can understand him. He's looking for his mama. So I look at him, and I put my hand up, and he sees me put my hand up, and he puts his hand up like I do, and I make a pointing finger, and I point down the hill to where his mom is standing. And he slowly does the finger point. He turns from the waist and he looks downhill. He instantly whirls around. He's got this big smile on his face. And I can read that body language. You found my mommy. And about this time, flight or fright takes over, and he whirls to his left, grabs a bush branch, and he kind of swings away, and he starts running down the hill. And I about die laughing the way he runs. There's a blow down stump and a root ball there. He stiff arms that and he vaults over it, and he pulls his feet up. I can see he's completely back. I can see that he's a boy. He hits the ground running, and he runs down, and he swings back and forth sometimes as he goes through the brush and around it. And I'm laughing because he looks so funny the way he's running. His right leg comes up, around, forward, and the foot comes down flat on the ground. The left leg up, around, flat on the ground in almost a straight line. And he basically is running like a bow-legged cowboy. He goes down the hill, running, swinging, dodging. I mean, this little boy could teach Marshawn Lynch how to broken field run. And he comes up to his mom, and he throws his arms up, and she turns a little bit towards the right. And that body language was pretty easy to read. Pick me up. And she doesn't pick him up, but she puts her hands on him, and I can hear a vocalization. And I stand up, and I'm watching, and he's got a hold of his mother by her leg, like a child would hold their mom's dress or pants. He disappears in behind the mom. I'm just a stand there watching. And pretty soon he does the classic tree leaning. He leans to his right, my left, and peeks out from behind his mom. And I point at him and I say, I see you. Pops right in behind his mom again. And she turns a little bit and she's looking down at him. And I can hear this vocalization again. I can't make it out. And all of a sudden he leans out from behind his mom and he points up the hill at me, and they both make like a 4-syllable vocalization, and they turn and start walking over the hill. And like I said, it's like a 4 or 5 year old toddler. He's got his left arm on his mom's leg as they're walking down the hill towards the woods, and I got my hand up and I just kind of do the hand wave, and he looks back and he puts his hands up like you see a toddler wave, and he waves as they go over the hill. And I am feeling blessed because I just had a chance to sit there and interact with a creature that they say is not supposed to exist and play with whatever that was. And that I know was a toddler Bigfoot. So I said, okay, I want to see the tree that got pulled up, pushed, thrown down. So I cross over the road and I walk over, and this dead fir snag had been pushed over. It's splintered. There's like a 25-foot sharp point up, and it's on the ground. And I start walking back along the length of the thrown down tree, and it starts smelling like somebody turned an outhouse over. As I walk a little bit farther, and there on the ground is two piles of poop, and it's still steaming. Left side of the pile of poop, there's a big football size or bigger footprint. The other side is another football size print. And I go, okay. So I go back a little bit further, and then the grass is this bottom print, about 3 by 2, and two more footprints. So I line up the bottom prints with the footprints, and I look. And as I said, he was sitting all that time right behind me. But I tried to figure out why he did the warning and threw down the tree. And about this time, I see four women walking up the hill towards me. Actually, it's two women and two of their daughters. And the one of them, the lead, says, "Did you see it?" And I go, "Did I see what?" And she says, "I saw a mountain gorilla go up the hill here." And I said, "There's no mountain gorilla." I said, "That was a Bigfoot." I said, "I was watching it." I said, "Did you see anything off to your right?" And the younger one says, "I saw something move." I said, "Well, there was a mother and a toddler and a juvenile that went down past you." And that made sense as to why he did the warning bark and threw down the tree. So we walked back to camp talking about the Bigfoot encounter. So that's the one that's the most requested story of mine. And it's published in the book Sasquatch America by Tom Cantrell, Chapter 7. The first story the second story, the one about the blue huckleberry patch, is in his other book, Sasquatch Face to Face, Chapter 9, and I wrote both those. So, do you have some questions?
Oh my goodness. Lynn, I'm telling you, man, that is awesome. So I as I started writing questions down, you answered them, but I did
Hmm.
get a couple.
Okay.
Um, so when you went out of your tent, you started tracking because you heard the noises, you heard the screams and the yells
Yeah,
the day before. The next morning you got up and you said, "Well, I'm gonna track these."
right.
How long did it take you to track them to find them in that area?
About 150 yards walking up the side of the road. I located them by the sound of them going through the brush, the chatter and the breaking the branches.
Okay. And how long would you say that whole encounter lasted?
I say from about 5:15 to about 9 o'clock.
Oh, whoa. So a nice oh my
Just
goodness.
just sitting in the Huckleberry Patch playing with them. And I've talked to other investigators. They say, "I'm out looking for 40 years, and he sits down in the Huckleberry Patch and plays with them." First time encounter.
Yeah. Let me
Um, yeah.
no, go ahead.
Um, like I said, they choose who they're going to show themselves for. And like I said, this is going right back to that first encounter. This is by time. This is Bigfoot's number 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I'm really starting to think what's going on. I know what I was looking at was not a giant wood ape. I believed it to be a primitive human relative, and
Right.
it's a creature that obviously evolved in an arboreal environment. There's food, water, shelter there, and I felt blessed.
Yeah,
I Go
that's
ahead.
and here's the last one. So when you just spoke about this the last interaction that you had.
Yeah.
So do you think that the mother acted the way that she did because of what your body language was? Like you weren't being aggressive, you were being
Yeah.
very deliberate in your movements and you're
Very
being
deliberate in my movement. They read your facial expressions, your body language, and your voice inflection. 80% of their communication is facial expression, body language, and the vocals that they'd be. I was always felt at peace, at calm. There was nothing threatened. I didn't feel threatened by her at all, or the male. He just acted. He was warning uh, his family about the four people walking up the hill towards him.
man, Lynn,
Yeah,
dude, I know you have so much more. I definitely want to have you back on for another episode.
no
Um,
problem.
I would love it. And as you guys listen, you know, a lot of people are going to be critical of Lynn's stories here, and I can understand that. People are critical of my stories, my encounters. Um, he said at the very beginning, if you guys have a question for him in the comments, he will answer those questions. The only thing is, I ask you guys is remember you weren't there. Um, the realm of probability in this subject matter is gigantic. Anything is possible happening. Because it didn't happen to you doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Um, always remember that. So be respectful as possible when asking these questions and having your comments. And I've always said it, you know, just because you have the freedom of speech, sometimes people don't really need to exercise that freedom if they're going to be, you know, nasty or mean in a comment. So, Lynn, I can't thank you enough for responding back so quickly, agreeing to come on so quickly. This absolutely fascinating, and this is one of my favorite episodes that I've done. One of my favorite guests, and I'm kind of being biased here because we're both Tacoma boys.
Yep, we
We're
are.
we're we're both North Enders, you know,
Yep.
and it's nice to talk with somebody who
Ex-
I walked.
except he went to Wilson and I went to Mount Tahoma. Big difference there.
Yeah, we know about Mount Tacoma, but you know it's great because you could say, "Oh, I went to the Bijou Theater." Remember the Bijou Theater
Yeah.
on Proctor? I worked there. That was my first job. Ticket taker and then running projector and then
Yeah.
selling concessions, you know? So you guys, this is a very personal connection to me, you know, for me with Lynn, and I've never met this man in my life. So Lynn,
Have
again,
you?
thank you so much for coming on. I'll
That
definitely be in
you're
contact
welcome.
with you.
You sure? And if your listeners want to get questions and forward them to you, I'm fine with answering questions
Yeah,
for your viewers. And as I said, the main reason, one of the main reasons why I responded so quickly, is there were some of your regular viewers asked me if I would come on your show,
yeah, I saw that. I
and
saw those comments.
I respond to the people that ask me questions,
Yeah,
and I'll tell them straight up. And hopefully, it's not kids because, as we discussed before, I can describe a Bigfoot anatomically
yeah.
correctly, right down to
Yep,
censorship.
yep, and I'm glad we didn't do that
Do
tonight.
that, yeah.
You know, so you guys exactly. So if you guys have a question, you can send them to me. You can also put them in the comments. But if you want to send them to me, I like to have Lynn come back on a Q&A, and then we'll talk about maybe a couple of other encounters that you've had. I mean, you've
Okay.
had a lifetime of encounters, and it's amazing.
Hmm.
I firmly believe that
Hmm.
if one presents itself to you, you're blessed in a way that these things are so elusive. you have, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people visiting national parks and national forests and things like that, and they walk these everywhere. Yep, keep it squatchy. And they never present themselves to these people, but then you have that one in 5,000 people. And again, you guys, I don't know if that's the odds, but I'm
I
just saying,
believe that that they choose
yeah,
who
they
they're going to
absolutely do.
because the first one I encountered, as I told you the viewers, that was the first time encounter.
Yeah.
That one I just finished to kind of sharing with you with a family of 4,
Mhm.
that is also a first time encounter.
Yeah.
They are definitely habituated Bigfoot. The behavior of a Bigfoot that's habituated and one that's not is different. And I
Absolutely.
believe that's because I made friends with that person. And through your lifetime, they will check up on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my friend, you have an amazing night. Stay in the lobby for a couple minutes. I like to
All
talk with
right.
you about Tacoma. So
Sure.
all right. So you guys, that's it. That's our show for tonight. I just want to say thank you so much again to Lynn for coming on, sharing these incredible stories and encounters with us. Again, like I said, guys, if it didn't meet your standards of what a sighting should be, again, that's your standards. These creatures are elusive, they're different. You'll have a good encounter, you can have a bad encounter. It just depends on them. Remember, you guys, stay mindful of the areas you're in. Have fun. Don't be aggressive. Don't show any aggressive tendencies towards them. I think the best possible way of you seeing one is not looking for them. If your body language is reading as you're just out for a Sunday walk or a hike or whatever, and you don't have any preconceived notions or any ill will, they'll pick up on your body language and things like that. So, but as my buddy Josh always says, for Mysteries Unknown, stay prayed up. And you guys, as I always say, remember, a legend always begins with a sighting. You guys have a great night. This is my show, and I'll talk to you later.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?